The FE2 is a legend. And how does one even talk about a legend in stories around fires with songs? Talking about a legend, about a camera like the FE2, presents no easy task, even for someone who has written reviews for dozens of cameras. The FE2 transcends words, and it's an experiential thing. A proper FE2 review would tell you that it's something special, like a 70s Charger with a 6.1 liter Hemi, that it feels good in the hands, like a leather steering wheel underneath driving gloves, that the interface strikes a near perfect balance between the control selection and placement, like a precision milled gated shifter plate. The FE2 is a precision machine made for the most demanding users. In a way, this is a proper FE2 review. The FE2 is something special, enjoyable, and fantastic. But I also simply am indifferent to it. There are cameras that I look at and I think about and I say, I really enjoy using that camera. I cannot wait to use it again. I've had an FE2 for almost 3 years, and I've used it a couple of dozen times, and there's nothing wrong with it. Yet after the first time I used it, and even now after every time I've used it, I never really got excited about going back to it. It takes fine photos, and I've taken some really good photos with it, but I look at the camera and I feel nothing. For those of you who love this camera, I can't find any fault in it. And I can't find any fault with loving it or having it be your favorite camera. In fact, it's a great choice for that. The FE2 is either the best or the second best Nikon manual focus camera. It lacks a few of the professional bells and whistles found in the F3, but it has a faster shutter speed and a simpler interface. It lacks the purely mechanical shutter of the FM2, but it has a match needle meter readout that's immune to the FM2's occasional dead LEDs. In everything photographic, there exist trade-offs. A given shutter speed may require an aperture that's too narrow or too deep. A film may have suitable speed, but lack sufficiently fine grain. Photography is a hobby or a profession of compromises, and the FE2 makes very few, and the compromises it makes are largely unimportant. What that means is that the FE2 is a fantastic mix of elegant interface design and capabilities that will leave few or no users wanting more. And I don't want more from this camera. I have no good reason why this camera doesn't excite me, except that maybe, just maybe, it's too perfect and too well designed. It has exactly everything I want and expect in a camera, and nothing that I don't need, and nothing that I think is superfluous. And the setup and the interface and the use of the FE2 check every box on what I would want from an ideal camera. And the FE2? It is my ideal camera. No other camera ever made is a more perfect match for how I would describe my perfect camera. And like I said, when I look at it, I feel absolutely nothing. The FE2 evolved from the earlier FE, one of Nikon's best-known advanced user cameras. In its progression from the FE2 shed the unreliable electronics and metering issues that have become increasingly common in the FE bodies. The FE2 is largely devoid of electronic issues. It has very few of its own issues, in fact, bar one, and it's big. FE2 bodies tend to destroy shutter leaves with a greater rate or frequency than most other cameras. That's not to say that every FE2 is going to have a destroyed shutter, but what I mean is that no FE2 that I've ever seen has had a problem except with the shutter. And to that point, 75% of the FE2 bodies that I've handled have needed to have their shutters replaced. With time and use, the leaves in the FE2 shutters, they jump their guides or they jam and they damage the shutter mechanism, or the leaves themselves are creased, or the leaves get their edges dented in the process of jumping their guides or jamming. Like, who among us could do better to design a shutter that moves tissue-thin titanium leaves about 1 inch in 3.3 milliseconds, and is capable of doing so hundreds of thousands of times over the span of multiple years without issues until that last time? Now, what I say next won't sound that impressive, but it is. The travel speed of the shutter leaves, moving from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top of the image opening in 3.3 milliseconds, means that to cover that full inch, the leaves have to travel at 17.2 miles per hour, assuming a steady speed for the whole frame travel. While that speed sounds slow, you try running that fast. I know I can't. Getting a thin sheet of metal to move that fast, tens or hundreds of thousands of times without buckling, flexing, or creasing to the point that it causes an issue, is pretty darn impressive from an engineering perspective. There is enough right about the FE2 to fill a book. I don't know a single Nikon fan who doesn't truly love their FE2. I don't know a single person who has used an FE2 who doesn't think of it as a truly fantastic camera. And this is a fantastic first camera. This is a fantastic last camera. This is a fantastic only camera. In every regard, the Nikon FE2 is a fantastic camera.